This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is a show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love. Hey, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Well, maybe if you've been listening to me for a while, it's not such a secret. I haven't been a dream worker my entire life. In fact, I didn't start studying dream work until about 10 years ago. And I didn't take it up because I saw it as a great way to make money. I did it because this work reflects my values. It gives me great joy to help someone understand their dreams. And since I've stepped into this role, I've had some of the happiest moments of my life. Why am I telling you all this now? Well, my guest today, Katrine Horn, has taken a somewhat similar path. She calls herself a former professional people pleaser. And it took her a long time to realize that her sense of value came through who she is, not from what she does. Now, she helps women over 50 feel their beauty, femininity, and worthiness through her Femininity Formula. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Katrine.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I'm thrilled to be talking to you and to our audience.
Oh, well, thank you. Katrine, I had a guest on a few weeks ago who spoke of women over 50 as being in their second act. Do you see it that way too?
Well, what I see for women over 50 is that we have no longer got any time to lose, right? So we are so ready to have everything that we desire take place. We are ready to experience what we've been dreaming of all our lives. And I know that you're big into nighttime dreams and daytime dreams. So to me, self-love is about making your dreams and desires what is most important to you, really. And then you can add on the self-care, which is really the framework that allows you to make all that happen.
Yeah. Do you see older women as realizing that life is a flow and a change, or do you see them thinking that, oh, well, things that worked for me when I was 20 are still going to work for me now?
Well, I believe that we're all here on a journey, on a spiritual journey. So the only thing we can be certain of is that we will be changing all the time. We can't stop time, and we can't really stop everything that happens to us. Like, we will go through menopause, right? Whether we want it or not. Our children will get older, whether we want it or not. So there's no point in wishing for this permanence of when we were 22, 29 or whatever to go on forever, because that is just unrealistic. We want to embrace what is really happening. And then we want to enjoy being 50 or over.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, too many older women get depressed when they look in the mirror and they realize that they're not 35 anymore, don't have the body they have at 35, or even the activity or the health that they've had when they were younger. How do we get over the belief that our outer image is what defines us, and what people see is what defines us, and that's all that matters?
Yeah, that is just a product really of our society, where we're focused really on youth. We love youth. We see youth in the advertisements. We see youth in the magazines, on the screen, everywhere. And that leads us, I say us as women over 50, to compare ourselves. Comparison is really something that is in the masculine formula. And I like to work with the Femininity Formula, which is, instead of comparison, we work with collaboration. So as soon as we're comparing ourselves to somebody, to something, as long as we are saying, oh, this person is more beautiful than me, or this person is thinner than me, or this person is more elegant than me, we know that we're not operating from our power source. We know that we are not in our femininity formula because we're using comparison. And I'm 53, and if I start comparing myself to women on the screen who are 29, well, then I'm sure I'm going to lose, aren't I? I'm fighting a losing battle. Whereas if I allow myself to be the age I am, and I allow my wrinkles to take place, right? I allow all that wonderfulness to be. I can concentrate on who I am on the inside. And I believe that who I am on the inside spills out into who I am on the outside. So I really don't have to be comparing myself. I don't have to be using a lot of beauty products or anything like that. I can let myself be me. And if I integrate my sexuality, if I integrate how I can be me, how I can be looking my best, right? If I throw out my old rags, if I stop wearing sneakers and a big sweatshirt where you can't really see my shape, well, that way I can actually allow myself to be to feel a lot better about myself, because the thing about clothes is that obviously that gives a signal out to the outside world about who I am, but the signal goes inside too. So if I put on lovely clothes, if I do my hair up, well, then I feel so much better. And it's my feeling that will show in my demeanor, if you see what I mean. So if I dress up in old jogging bottoms or leggings and a dreadful old sweatshirt that has got holes in it and perhaps even stains on it, well, how can I feel beautiful and sensual looking like that? I mean, that is really difficult. I'm sure it's possible, but it's difficult. So if I make sure that I'm looking my best with my wrinkles, with my grey hair or whatever, well, then that will spill out on the outside, I think. I don't know what you feel about that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you said so much there that, I wanted to break it out and get into little details. Because as you were talking, I kept thinking about how I'm in the baby boom generation. And when we were younger, the media was all about building us up. We were the youth, the youth rebellion, the youth excitement, we were going to change the world. And it was all about the youth culture. And because before our generation, nobody talked about a youth culture. So we were kind of the first generation to have that label put upon us. And I think it sort of carries through as we got older, keep thinking about that and keep thinking, well, we must keep looking young. We must, chase everything that talks about being young and wrinkle free, or have everything that, be on all the killer diets so that we don't gain any ounces. So we look young, and, we wear the fashions that the younger people wear because, that will keep us looking young, which is sort of a false idea. But I also was thinking as you were talking that with age, wrinkles come with age, but with age also comes wisdom. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Oh, yeah. If I can just respond to that, this wisdom is really what makes your life so much more enjoyable if you let it, right? But if you're fighting it, if you're not allowing your wisdom to come through to you, and if you're not really using it to shape your life, well, then I can only say yes, I can understand it's better to be young, because if you're not really benefiting from all the advantages of being older, well, then obviously you want to be younger.
Absolutely. And you've actually called life after 50 being a fantastic opportunity for a woman. So what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean that, as I said earlier, we've got no time to lose. So that makes us very, very focused. Most of us don't have any children, like toddlers, to take care of. So that means we've liberated a huge amount of time. Many of us have got good careers. Many of us are making good money. So we're really in a place where we are able to enjoy life. Only we haven't really cultivated the faculty for enjoying life, because many of us have been operating in the zone where everybody else's needs were more important than our own. So we just need to re-educate ourselves into the beliefs that our needs, our desires, our dreams, if you wish, are really what is absolutely most important. And then once we realize that, once we really inhabit that knowledge, well, that means we can actually put all that wisdom you just talked about into realizing the dreams, into experiencing our desires, and really designing the life we wanted. Because we've been going through life saying, I want this, I want that. But these have perhaps been wants that came from a sort of scarcity syndrome, if I can call it like that. A want is like, if we want a swimming pool, we want a new car, we want a husband even, it's because we haven't got it. So everything we desire to create from a want perspective is going to be ultimately unsatisfactory, right? So now after 50, I mean, it could be 45, obviously, it could be 55, but when we are at this stage in life, we've got so much wisdom, as you said, that we are able to realize that having a swimming pool or a husband who takes care of us is not going to be fulfilling, right? It's not going to be what we really want. Those are just superficial wants. We can go so much deeper and actually access our real desires. And that is when it gets to be really juicy and exciting.
One of the things that I've noticed is that so many people just, I'd say, like sleepwalk through life. They're either doing what they were told to do or doing what their friends do or what their family does. And they never do make or take that deep dive into saying or answering that question, what do I want? So how does a woman who maybe isn't quite sure how to answer that question, how does she start to find the answer to that question?
Yeah, well, most women don't know what they want or what they desire. So that is all very normal because we've been asked to set our desires aside so that our children could have the lives that we want for them, so that whoever, our parents, I mean, we have been taking care of so many people all through life. And we have sort of been shutting our own desires down because it's quite painful to have those desires present in your life and not listening to them, right? So we've had the choice of either listening to desires we felt we couldn't fulfill or shutting them down. And we have chosen to shut them down often because that was actually the least painful solution, if you see what I mean. Because having our desires, being aware of our desires and not fulfilling them is actually very, very cruel, isn't it? So it's totally normal not to know what your desires are. Often we try to work out from our minds what we should be desiring, like we should be desiring that designer house, that architect-built house at the seashore, or we should be desiring to travel the world. We should be desiring this or that. But those are not real desires. The real desires are so much more profound, I believe. And once we dive into that, as you say, once we stop the sleepwalking, once we become aware of what is really available to us, well, it's so much more than the swimming pool and the designer home, right? It is so much more profound. And I find that often this has got to do with love. It's got to do with contribution. It's got to do with connection and community. And all the rest are just really means to an end, if you see what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to get into this a lot more, but we are going to take a little break now. We are speaking with Katrine Horn about femininity over 50, and we'll be right back. Everybody has a dark side. What lies within yours? Join Darkwood Tarot author and head witch in charge, Sasha Graham, for a very special virtual tarot masterclass, Illuminating the Shadow. This live, full-day experiential workshop will guide you to break out of your tarot comfort zone and harness the latent power that resides within your innermost self. Register now to experience all the fun and wisdom. Go to tarotpalooza.com. That's TAROTPALOOZA.com
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're speaking with Katrine Horn about finding our femininity and our worthiness after 50. And Katrine, you were talking about people who look at their desires and look at the sort of what I would call superficial desires of the house or the boat or the trip or whatever it is, which are things, as opposed to the inner parts of us that really can define who we are, and the parts that really, in the end, are the parts that give us the joy and the satisfaction when we find them. So how does a woman discover her worthiness, that inner part of her that is the part that really counts?
So worthiness is not something you need to discover because you already have it, right? It's a birthright. You were born worthy. Everybody is worthy. So you can just go ahead right now and decide that you are worthy. Sometimes some of us, and I used to be like that, I need to have a lot of self-care in place so that I remind myself that I am worthy, because I know that I am worthy, but sometimes it just slips my mind, if you see what I mean. It's sometimes we don't focus on that and we make other people's needs more important than our own. So for me, not to slip back in that place where I feel unworthy, I need to keep reminding myself that I am totally worthy by treating myself, by rewarding myself, by creating little or big pleasures for myself. So I make sure to have that self-care in place that keeps reminding me that actually I'm the most important thing to me on this planet. And the more I invest in myself, the more I care for myself, actually, the more I'm able to contribute to the rest of society, to the rest of the world.
And I think what goes along with that and why so many women don't even think about that is that deep down, there's a lot of self-hatred going around. And it's kind of an invisible thing. I mean, I had a lot of self-hatred in me for many years, and I never really realized I had it until I got to that point where I said, there's something's not right, and did that deep dive and discovered that. How does a woman realize that she has all this love within her that she's denying herself?
Yeah, I love how you put that. And I love your story of self-hatred. Not that I want you to hate yourself, but it's just something that happens to so many of us, right? Actually, it's got to do with shame, this self-hatred, if we can just talk a little bit about that, because women, as opposed to men don't do this as much as women do. We go through life making experiences mean something about us. So we think if we have a bad experience, it must reflect on who we are, not on what we did. And once it reflects on who we are, we make up a story of shame about it. And we become totally powerless when we dive into shame. It's a place from where we have got zero power. So the first thing is to get out of shame and to stop making stories, events, mean that there's something wrong with you. It could be that you did something wrong or that you did something that wasn't conducive to your happiness. Could be that there was a mistake, right? But it doesn't make you wrong. It makes your action wrong, if you see what I mean. And coming back to the self-care bit, if you really want to start diving into that, getting rid of that self-hate and building your self-love, what I call unconditional self-love, is when you construct your self-care, not from, again, a space of lack, not from saying, oh, I'm going to have a massage because I've been working so hard. It's when you schedule your massage because you feel like a massage. So it's just a normal expression of who you are in the world, right? And there's nothing you need to have done or to have proven before you go ahead and do it. So that goes for any self-care, really. Don't know how you feel about that, coming from lack into self-care and coming from abundance into self-care.
Right. I mean, I think that's true. But I also want to go back to, you talked about stories, and when you're talking about getting a massage, I'm thinking back to, in the days when I didn't love myself. And I would say, I don't deserve a massage. Not that I need one because I'm achy or stressed out. I don't deserve to even get that self-care. So, when you're coming from there, how do you make that leap from getting rid of that story of a feeling I don't deserve, or I don't, I'm not worthy of this, or it's not.
I so hear you, Debbie. And I hear that so often from women. And it's really the same syndrome as us not wanting to use our best china to have a cup of tea, isn't it? I mean, it's about keeping our best porcelain, our best china in the cupboard for those big occasions. And so we have our tea out of an old mug that looks dreadful, right? It's the same syndrome. It's about not using your best clothes, keeping them in your cupboard, putting on underwear that is totally unworthy of ourselves. So what I like to do to start off with for women going through my program called Sparkle is that we start really having a look at what we wear underneath our clothes. So we have a deep dive into our lingerie drawer. We have a look at what it is that we're really putting on our bodies and how it makes us feel. I live in France, and I've learned so much about elegance, obviously, but also about self-worth for women. And it really starts in one way with underwear, because French women will put an enormous amount of effort and money into their underwear. And I think Anglo-Saxon women, they don't do that as much. They're quite happy to put on some old rags. And then they are surprised that they don't feel sexy or sensual, right? But it's all about gifting ourselves the right to the massage, right? So at the beginning, we might not feel that we are entitled to the massage, as you just explained, right? It's just not for us, right? It's just not for us to go on a weekend in a chateau and have champagne. No, it's just not for us, is it? So at some point, I challenge my client to do something that is a bit wild in their eyes. So for some women, it could be getting some silk underwear. It could be going away for a weekend just on their own in a luxury hotel. It could be anything, like gifting themselves the best of something, because the way we function as human beings is that we let outside circumstances influence our interior, right? We could do it the other way around, which is what I recommend, but we learn in this system through what happens to us on the outside. So let's say, Debbie, you went away, you came over here to France, where I live, and I sent you off to a chateau where you would be surrounded by beauty all around you. You'd be sitting down to gorgeous dinners, and you'd be sleeping in a bed with silk bedding, right? I mean, how would you feel about yourself after that, right? It is like a shock. And I feel that we need some outside circumstances sometimes to shift our perspective from that self-hatred, from that undeservedness, into something where we feel again like the princesses or the queens of our lives.
I tell you, I couldn't agree with that more. In fact, I wrote a book about this. I've advocated something called the dream date, which is doing something for yourself that you would not ordinarily do, like go to a chateau or even, I put it even down to the basics of taking a bubble bath, then realize you do it and it's just wonderful.
It is. And if I can just add to the bubble bath, what is even more empowering is if you have got no time to take a bubble bath because your husband is waiting for his dinner and your boss has asked you to have that report ready, it is when you say, okay, I might do that when I've had my bubble bath. But right now, I'm going to have my bubble bath. That is when you know, okay, I've got this down. I can do this, right?
Yes, I was going to also say that we have this natural tendency as women to give of ourselves, to our husbands, our kids, our parents, whoever it is, and put us down at the bottom rung. So, right, making that leap to say, no, I'm going to take care of myself first. For me, I think it has the effect of even making your relationships with everybody else better. Because when you feel better about yourself, there's more love to give.
Well, that is so true. And it's again about giving from that overflowing cup. If we give again from not having any energy ourselves, not loving ourselves, always prioritizing other people over ourselves, well, I think that leads to resentment. And I know a lot of women who are really experts at resentment, who go into, this or that person always wants me to do this or that for them. But I think that is really unfair and I resent it, right? And we build on that resentment. And yet I've never seen anybody become happy out of resentment, right? And that's not a pretty thing.
Oh, no, not at all. But one of the things that happens as we get older is, as women, we go through menopause, which has all kinds of effects on our life. Everybody goes through a little bit differently. One of the things that also often happens is there's a change in the libido. So as an older woman, how do we best approach sex?
How delicious. Let's dive into this. Many of us, as you just said, we don't feel like having sex anymore. So what we really need to find out is, obviously there's some physiological symptoms that we could repair, if I can call it like that. But if we just concentrate for a moment on what is going on the inside, right? If we've been having sex all our lives and it's been just wonderful, then I don't think there's so much of a chance of us going totally off it. If we go off it at menopause, I think there has been something in the past that might have made us think, yeah, I don't really fancy it all that much anymore. And it could be that you're not been having the sex that you really want. So women is all about connection, right? It's difficult for us to enjoy sex with somebody we can't look into the eyes, right? And I think perhaps for men, that is perhaps not enjoyable, but it's easier than for women. We need the deep connection. We need to feel safe. We want to feel taken care of. We want to feel like $1 million at least, right? We want to be special. So if that is not in place, then it's going to be very, very difficult to enjoy sex. So what I would suggest is that even if you've got the husband all ready to participate, you start concentrating on self-pleasure. So that means you start investigating on your own what really makes you feel desirable and what gives you pleasure. So you can really best explore that on your own, because then you can't blame it on the other person, right? There's only you there. So you need to really dive deep. That might be looking up new ways of giving yourself pleasure. And if you want to dive into exercises that could be useful at the menopause, if you've had children, sometimes our muscles all in that area are a little bit not at the optimal level, if I can call it like that. And you might want to start a little workout down there. And there are so many tools out there for you to be able to do that. So I can only recommend that you actually allow yourself to be a little bit curious about it, that you actually go out there and find something that suits you. And I can't stress enough that it really starts with self-pleasure. So please don't put the responsibility onto your partner for this. Once you've sorted it out for yourself, it will be so much easier to do it all with your partner.
So my final question to you, Katrine, is how can people find out more about you and your work?
Oh, well, they can just go to my website, which is www.katrinehorn, Katrinehorn.com. And I've got lots of free resources on my website. I've got some online courses that they can participate in. And if they would like some individual attention, that is, of course, also possible. But it all starts with a deep dive, if I can call it like that, into my website, where you can see, well, really what speaks to you and where you want to start.
Oh, Katrine, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today. We've been speaking with femininity coach Katrine Horn. I hope you've enjoyed today's program. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.